So does it make you any less pro if you downsize your iPad? Let's find out. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking through a change I've made to my computing setup for work and personal use. I made the call to downsize my 11-inch iPad Pro to the little iPad mini. So you're probably watching this video after taking a look at Apple's latest iPad lineup and maybe feeling a little bit confused as to where to go, and hey, I get it. In fact, I made a video all about this after Apple released their iPad 10 and M2 iPad Pro lineups earlier this year. And up until recently, my iPad of choice has been the 11-inch iPad Pro. Now this one dates all the way back to 2018, and I almost always have it paired with the Magic Keyboard and also the 2nd gen Apple Pencil. So I've been wondering for a while now what would happen if I downsized this larger iPad to the small iPad Mini 6, which was released last year. It's got a nice clear screen, it works with my Apple Pencil 2nd gen, and is a very different form factor. And I just think the compact size and lightness seems to fit my workflow more than the larger iPad. And in making this shift over the last month or so, I've realised some hard truths. Here are 3 of them. So first of all, I'm not a pro user, at least not in the way that Apple want me to be. So what's interesting with the Pro branding with Apple's products is they seem to vary in terms of meaning from device to device. If you're talking about their desktops and their laptops, the Pro label is essentially a statement of, I'm going to have a need to use this device in a way that goes beyond regular computing needs like browsing and emails, etc., and I need to push it to its limits. In simple terms, if you need an Apple computer to make money, you're almost always going to be better off with the Pro version because that will have all the added power to help you maximize your time. On the other hand, if you think about the Pro lineup of phones, this is a bit different. So an iPhone Pro or a Pro Max usually has a better quality screen than a non-Pro phone, and a better camera set, and sometimes with a better battery too. It's basically the best possible phone you can buy from Apple, even though you can pretty much do all the same stuff that you can do with a non-Pro phone. And I think something similar is true of the iPad Pro lineup. So what you've got here is a set of products which have the fastest processors, the highest resolution screens, and also in the case of the 14.9-inch model, the biggest screen and battery available on any iPad. So I originally bought this 11-inch iPad Pro back in 2018 because I was very much sold on the dream of it one day being able to be a replacement computer. Sadly, that hasn't worked out in practice. More often than not, I find I take both a laptop and an iPad with me in order to cover lots of different eventualities. And also because the constraints of iPadOS make it just too clunky to do normal computing tasks like switching between different apps, managing files, and also connecting to a large screen if I wanted to do some presentations. And believe me, I have tried to make it work as a single device. It just doesn't fit for me. And this has ended up making this device a very expensive digital note taker, which I occasionally use for consuming media and replying to emails and messages. And that's a shame because all the hardware to do more is here with this A12 Bionic chip. It's the software that's letting me down. Unfortunately, I can't see a future at the moment where an iPad can genuinely replace a desktop or a laptop, given the way I like to work and the work that I have to do, but I truly hope it will one day. On to number 2 then, portability beats power. So one thing I've noticed since switching to the iPad mini is that I'm using it all the time, more than I ever did with the 11-inch iPad Pro. Even with the case attached, I can easily hold it for extended periods with just one hand, and even slip it into a coat pocket if I'm out and about. So I often have this with me for meetings, and it's so much more inconspicuous for note-taking or illustrating something visual on screen compared to unveiling the 11-inch, which seems enormous by comparison. As I did with my previous iPad, I installed a paper-like cover straight away, as I use the Apple Pencil all the time, and I find it so much more satisfying to use than the feeling of the Apple Pencil on a naked iPad glass screen. So you just get that little bit of resistance added that makes it feel so much more, well, paper-like. It's great to see how this product has evolved from version 1, and I really like the inclusion of this little pencil grip, which still allows you to keep the pencil magnetized to the iPad when it's not in use. And I've added a link to Paperlike down below if you're interested in picking one up for your iPad. Now, putting the Mini next to my iPhone 13 Pro Max, you can see the screens aren't that far away from each other, and it does make me wonder what a foldable phone from Apple might look like one day. I'd be absolutely made up with a device that's a kind of phone size most of the time, but then allows you to fold out to kind of iPad size with all the functionality. I think that would work really, really well for a lot of use cases, and I'd be among the first to snap one up. Hope you're listening, Apple. On the topic of power, the Mini is no slouch. In fact, the A15 chip in the iPad 6 is actually snappier than the A12 in this 2018 version 11-inch iPad Pro. Yeah, there's a bit of trade-off in the screen brightness and the refresh rate, but in my opinion, it's well worth it for the beneficial form factor. So a lot of reviewers have moaned about the Mini's jelly wobbling if you're scrolling too fast compared to the super smooth ProMotion refresh rate on the iPad Pro, but honestly, I've just not seen this in practice at all. Even jumping between the iPhone 13 Pro, which also has ProMotion, and the iPad Mini, it's just not something my eyes are bothered by. Maybe that's me, but I've just not found it a big issue at all. Also, as a productivity device, the iPad Pro combined with the Magic Keyboard is a really cool setup, and the key travel and the feel of the trackpad is just perfect. But man, it is heavy. So the keyboard and case together provide lots of protection, but by the time you've added it together with the iPad, it's about the same weight as most laptops. Even more so if you've got the big boy iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard attached, which is actually heavier than a MacBook Air. The Mini, on the other hand, it's barely noticeable, and if I really need to do a bunch of typing on the device, I can either do it two-handed with the on-screen keyboard or easily hook up a Bluetooth device like my Keychron Mechanical and the Logitech mouse, which both allow for fast device switching. And so finally, number 3, iPads are still a solution looking for a problem. I think Apple have got a bit of a problem with iPads, not least that at the time of making this video there are over 30 different configurations of iPad that you can choose from. But more than that, it appears like Apple's approach with this device is, look at this amazing thing that we've made, now you go off and figure out how to make it work for you. And that makes the messaging quite complex too. For example, iPads are for pros, but you might also need a separate computer if you want to do certain pro work. For example, I edit these videos with Final Cut Pro, which is made by Apple, by definition a pro piece of software, and on the latest M2 iPad Pros they have the power and capability to run something like Final Cut Pro, but the only serious bit of video editing software on there is DaVinci Resolve. Bit odd that. iPads are also for people who don't want or don't need to own a full-blown computer, desktop, laptop, but the software still doesn't provide a neat way of managing files or completing most everyday computing tasks. So I'm curious to know, if you're watching this and you're an iPad user, what model of iPad do you have and what do you tend to use it for? What problems does it solve for you that other devices can't address? Let me know in the comments below. So folks, those are my thoughts after a month from switching from an iPad Pro to an iPad Mini. As always, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below and I'll do my best to respond to each and every one. I am holding out some hope that next year we'll see Apple release a 7th generation iPad Mini which will come with a brighter screen, maybe also the capability to run some accessories like a foldable keyboard that will allow you to take it off to a coffee shop and bash out some emails or documents. That'd be really cool, and I would definitely be first in line for such a device. But for now, I'm super happy with my decision to switch to the iPad Mini, and my iPad Pro will be hitting an eBay listing near you very shortly. Folks, if you enjoyed this one, do let me know with a like, it really does help the channel out. And if you want to see more like this, maybe even a cheeky subscribe. I'll see you next time.